All right, welcome back to the Kansas City Commercial Real Estate Market Pulse. I'm joined here by my co-host today, Nathan Roberts. Nathan, what's going on today, man?
Yeah, man, just very excited for this podcast interview. Obviously, we're going to be discussing a property that we had listed for quite a while, and we just had to kind of redo that strategy in order to get it sold. So pretty excited to be on the podcast today.
Most definitely, today's episode is going to be all about a case study of a recently closed real estate deal that we have completed here in the Kansas City metro area. But before we do, I do want to talk to everybody about something that just came out. So Q4 numbers for 2025 are not quite out yet. Once they are, we'll make sure to come on and do a market report episode. We'll have a podcast about it. Those will be probably multiple podcasts, honestly, and we'll have a newsletter and you can download that market report. But one thing I do want to share from Lightbox, they have a commercial real estate activity index that I really like to follow. And in December of 2025, it was down 13%, closing at 86.9. But that reflects a pretty typical year-end slowdown rather than kind of a full-on loss of momentum. But more importantly, the December pullback was far milder than the sharp post-election drop seen 1 year earlier. Activity levels remained 49% higher than in December of 2024, which I think underscores how much the market has recovered over the past year. Key components of the index held up extremely well on a year-over-year basis. Listings activities rose 55%. Phase 1 ESA volume increased 48%, and appraisal activity climbed 41% as well. So deal execution also remained active with from what they're tracking, over $100 million in transactions, which would be up 44% month over month, signaling continued investor engagement despite seasonal pauses. So, I'm excited to kind of see how 2025 completely shook out from a commercial real estate standpoint, but early indications are that activity was still pretty high in Q4. Are you seeing the same thing, Nathan?
No, of course. I mean, with any sort of market, it's really going to be the key players that are kind of deciding how those transactions get made. But yeah, I am seeing the same activity here in Kansas City.
Yeah, I'm excited for 2026 as well to get kicked off. Okay, if you guys got any questions, we're monitoring the chat here on YouTube and on LinkedIn. So if you have questions, please do reach out. Luis Fernandez and Joe Mires already being active in the chat. So appreciate you guys being here 100%. Well, what we'll do here is just to remind you all, we came on almost a year ago and spotlighted this deal, right? So this has been a labor of love for Nathan and I on this real estate deal. Our client couldn't be more happy, and we got a win-win put together all together. But what I do want to show is our original marketing video of this property. So it just reminds you guys what we did when we first launched.
Are you an investor looking for your next deal? Look no further than this property here at 20560 West 47th Street in Shawnee, Kansas. We're located near a few key developments like the Panasonic battery plant and the Mattel Adventure Park. The seller has went through to update the building with new roofs and HVACs. He's also planning to asphalt a new driveway and install a bridge over the ravine. The tenant is in their second year of a 10-year term while being financially backed by General Atlantic, who owns 25 plus locations. You'll also have a stable source of income with annual 2% rent bumps every July. Reach out to the number below on the screen for more information about this investment opportunity.
Man, great job on that video. I love dancing to that music and watching that video over and over again. Nathan, let me get a tab shared here for us so we can go through this deal. But man, talk to us about this deal, man. I mean, everybody wants to talk about velocity and how fast deals can sell. But, frankly, this is a deal that a lot of people passed on from a brokerage standpoint. It was a hard assignment, right? And it was not an easy sale. So let's dive into this, man. The Broadmoor Pet Retreat, from 200 days on the market to multiple offers in a 30-day close. Give us an overview of what this project was, Nathan.
Yeah, so this was a single tenant building or a single tenant that had occupied two buildings that sat on the property. There were two buildings, one that was 3,300 square feet, one that's 5,000 square feet, and then you had two larger sheds. And this sit on about 5.37 acres. So kind of we knew going in that this is going to be a property that had to be sold to a very particular end buyer. And that's kind of what we saw. I mean, we've had quite a bit of activity and interest in the property, but we just didn't have any offers until really the last 30, 45 days. But this was a property that was a long time coming. It took about a year to actually get this property sold. But we initially listed this property for about $1.3 million. And then we had a slight price reduction, probably about 3 to 4 months in, down to 1.2. And then we ultimately did sell this property into December for 1.15.
Yeah.
Go over kind of the details and the strategy that we used in order to actually get this property sold.
Absolutely. And, this is one of those deals that you just can't find comps for in the market, right? I mean, the way that it sat, from a site layout standpoint, the previous owner of this property, lives in a house that sits on the same parcel. So he had to go through a sub-parceling strategy. We had to really go about this in a unique way. So we had to find kind of that needle in the haystack. So we implemented our two-phase spotlight strategy that we're talking about. But one thing I do want to read real quick, and this is so important to us, is even though this was a long process, right, for a commercial real estate transaction. Now, for land, this is not a long process, but for an occupied, industrial single tenant deal, this did take a long time to sell because we had to go figure out in the market what they were willing to pay and how they were going to discount some of the uniqueness that we're going to talk about here soon. But Patrick, our client, really just did a great job, I think, kind of summing up what the work that we did for us. He said, Nathan and Logan and their team did an exceptional job assisting in the sale of my commercial property in Shawnee, Kansas. This property was very unique in that it has multiple buildings on 5 acres with one tenant. Nathan and Logan worked hard in trying to find the right buyer for this property. Our lease with our single tenant was not a triple net lease, which also made the sale more difficult. They were able to locate a buyer that was willing to accept and renegotiate with the tenant. There were many inspections and due diligence obstacles, and they helped each and every step of the way, and therefore we were able to get the outcome that we desired. I would highly recommend Nathan and Logan and their team. So just want to give you a shout out, Nathan, for not giving up on this project, working hard for our clients and moving this deal forward, man. It's always good to have that type of, testimonial after a long type of deal like we got done here.
No, I agree.
All right. So let's talk about the challenge, right? Picture this. There's a pet retreat facility on 5.37 acres in Shawnee, Kansas. Yes, backed by an institutional tenant. General Atlantic was backing this tenant, which was generating stable cash flow with 2% annual rent escalations. Yet it was sitting on the market for over 200 days with no accepted offers. And Nathan, I wanted you to walk through this complexity stack for everyone on why this property sat on the market for so long and why it was a difficult or more complex transaction, but we got it done.
Yeah. So the lease was initially put in place before we actually started working on this project. Had about 8 of the 10 years remaining. But this is truly a single net type of lease. It wasn't triple net, which is what most investors are kind of looking for. Institutional players, they're really looking for those triple net assets. So they come in, they're already getting the base rent, and pretty much all of the operating expenses for the property is a pass-through charge to the tenant. That was not the situation here. Really, the only thing that the tenant was responsible for were the taxes, and the landlord was kind of paying for everything else outside of the interior of the buildings. Even though we did have a private equity group that had acquired this business, I mean, it was still hard to find a particular buyer for this building. And we just kind of had to brainstorm ideas on how we were actually going to increase activity. And we did have a lot of eyes on it, and we'll actually showcase that later. But another thing was just the change in environment with the interest rates. I mean, during that time, we thought that the interest rates were going to come down about 25 to 50 basis points over the next few months, and that just didn't happen. And it actually went up quite a bit, and that was kind of one thing that was kind of detrimental to the project, because income at that point was staying relatively the same up until June, and cap rate was actually going to go down because of that interest rate. So that's one thing we kind of had to kind of strategize and get figured out.
Most definitely. I mean, we battled the market environment. We battled the positioning of the property, the capital requirements that needed to happen, the lease structure. These were all complexities that we had to work through on this deal. And I would say that, most people would have given up, but we made a strategic pivot, and that pivot was really important for us. We have what we call at Midwest Commercial Real Estate Advisors the spotlight strategy. And here it is in action. Okay. It's a 3-phased approach in this regard. And so we always say that we do not just list properties, we launch them. We adapt, we reposition, and we're going to execute until we close. And so our proprietary spotlight strategy delivered those results through 3 distinct phases. Okay. Phase number 1 was getting maximum exposure. And we did that, right? I mean, we had over 37,000 impressions online on this property, right? Through all of our channels, and we'll showcase this later, we had over 57,000 impressions on the property. So it was not a challenge in regards to getting visibility on the deal, right? We initially positioned this at a $1.3 million price, and around 90 days in, we had a strategic pivot, right? And our objective was to reposition the price and the narrative to unlock the competitive bidding, right? And then we also have to focus on relentlessly following up, right? And our objective there is always to convert that interest into offers and manage the complex transaction to close. Okay. So just breaking down phase 1, right? We employed our every single part of our digital marketing strategy. So it was on Crexy. We had professional photography. You've already seen the videography. We had the emphasis on the institutional tenant, right? We had a dual narrative, right? Stable income plus the strategic land opportunity. We had a very strong LinkedIn campaign. Over 20,000 impressions were generated and over 50 engagements there, right? We had educational content on single net leases versus triple net lease structures and the strategic land opportunity. And then, we also focused on our email marketing. Over 10,000 emails were sent with a 40% open rate and a 2% click-through rate, which we had targeted outreach to triple net lease investors. I mean, 90 days in, we're feeling pretty good about the work that has been done, right? But we had no accepted offers. We had strong interest. And so a strategic decision was made. Rather than wait for the market to change, we had to change our approach, okay? And that is where we really made the pivot. So in around 90 days in, we made a strategic pivot to go from 1.3 million to 1.2 million, combined with this enhanced value narrative. I still remember you and I working through what's the value add strategy? How do we make sure that the market understands that? Retargeting all those individuals that were interested in the property previously. Also using AI and deep research to put together all of the private equity companies that were looking for pet or veterinarian type of properties, right? I mean, this property even got spotlighted by somebody who didn't even know who we were on LinkedIn, doing that deep research before, right after we had actually done that. And believe it or not, one of those people and companies actually did make an offer on the property. So we had a big narrative repositioning, right? Immediate income, there's a land opportunity, you got hybrid value, right? So you got the appeal to a single tenant net lease buyer and some land speculators. And we try to expand that focus to 1031 exchange buyers, as well as we emphasize that flexibility, right? And the result, that pivot really unlocked competitive interest within weeks, right? And so then it was down to phase 3. Man, we had to focus on relentlessly following up, right? And once the repositioning took hold, the relentless follow-up turned renewed interest into multiple offers, right? So why don't you walk us through, Nathan, some of those deal friction points and the challenges in our transaction advisory response that we had for each one of those? Because, man, I know there was a lot of them.
Yeah, so I think initially when we were doing our outreach and prospecting to try to find buyers, we were mostly kind of the talking points around the property was that, hey, we had a single tenant that was occupying all the buildings. So it's 100% occupied building or investment that we were selling. Going into that phase 2, we kind of had to reposition kind of the narrative for the property. And it kind of came down to, hey, well, this is sitting on 5.37 acres. This could actually be a potential redevelopment opportunity for someone coming in. And that's kind of one of the things that we had to upsell it, just knowing that it is in Shawnee. It's a few minutes away from K7 Highway, just slightly east of it. And that was really one of the selling points that we had. It's like there's so much development going on from the KCK Speedway all the way down K7 Highway over to DeSoto. And that had to be one of our selling points. It's like we're seeing all these developments going on. This can kind of be kind of like a project where it can offer ancillary services or buildings for those type of large scale developments going on. So that's kind of one thing that we kind of changed as far as the narrative. And then also with that price reduction down 100,000, that actually made that cap rate go up quite a bit.
Right.
And that kind of springlined quite a bit of interest from there.
Absolutely. And some of the challenges that we went through were we had buyer concerns around the single net lease structure. And so we provided detailed lease analysis, right? Tenant financial documentation, PE backing verification. We connected the buyer with lender experience in non-traditional net lease structures, right? We had a regional bank underwriting for this deal. So we coordinated the appraisal support. We provided comparable sales data for both income and for land value. And we facilitated kind of that lender education on the dual value proposition. Then we had to manage the capital improvement timing and coordination. So Nathan, you did a great job working with the seller funded upgrades, right? The HVAC, the parking, the bridge to ensure that turnkey delivery for that new buyer. Man, we had a December year-end closing deadline, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was accelerated due diligence coordination. We managed all parties to hit a 30-day close, timeline for the buyer's tax strategy. And then, I think too, go ahead.
Yeah, and I was going to say the crazy thing is we didn't go on a contract until less than 30 days before we were actually scheduled to close. I mean, this was kind of a situation where we had to get an approval or a sign off from the tenant saying that, hey, we want to waive our right to actually execute purchasing this property. So they essentially had an option to purchase the property or a right of first refusal. So if we were to receive any sort of offer, they have the right to match that offer. So we kind of had to wait until that was actually signed over to us. And then getting any sort of information as far as financials from the tenant took quite a bit of time. So the fact that we were able to keep due diligence running before the buyer actually went on a contract was essential to getting this property closed on time. Absolutely.
I'm seeing some questions coming in. I appreciate you guys. I will get you, Nathan and I will get to your questions here very soon. Want to just put a button on this slide here. We really had a lot of title and survey complexity. I mean, there was cross-access easements that had to be negotiated. We had to provide site plans and survey documentation, working with the title company to deliver that clean title. So just want to highlight the fact that, we aren't just, transaction brokers, right? Like we are in there in the mix, figuring these challenges out, and we're working with our clients hand in hand. So great job on that. So here's the outcome, guys, right? We listed at 1.3. We final sale price was 1.15. 8% cap rate was achieved. Yes, it was on the market for 200 days. We talked about the challenges on why it was. But once that new pivot was created and we found that buyer, 30 days to close, over 60,000 marketing impressions, and we actually had multiple offers on this real estate. So very excited about this transaction. I mean, I think that one thing I want to just kind of make sure that everybody understands is we don't list properties. We're launching them and then we're engaging with those. So if we have 25 calls with buyers and they all have the same 10 questions, we are going to go create a strategic pivot and FAQ documents to supplement that. So for the new round of buyers that come in, those aren't challenges, right? Those obstacles don't turn into objections because we handle them up front, right? And we're going to relentlessly follow up. So the lesson I think that we learned here was adapt or stagnate, right? You got to have the multi-channel marketing blitz. But after we repivoted, it was like, okay, we got to go back and do another blitz, right? We have to focus on getting the new eyes on the new value proposition. And so we would love to try to bring your deal into the spotlight. So if you're a seller and you're interested in looking at working with us, send us some information about your property. We can get broker opinion of values turned around very quickly with artificial intelligence underwriting. We have the ability to get sales and lease comps put together very quickly. And we can get you an idea of like, hey, should I hold this? Should I refinance this? Or should I sell this, right? But we're in there in the grind, working to pivot and make sure that your property continues to get the eyeballs that it needs. And we're answering those questions that come up with those buyers, the new round of buyers, that the objections that they might have had are just obstacles that we can overcome throughout that process, okay? So just going through the 4-step approach here, right? We got to have maximum exposure on your property. Yes, we need to have this strategic agility. There has to be relentless execution. You've got to focus on the blocking and tackling, right? But we've just shown you the proven results on this deal. So if you're interested in talking with Nathan or myself around commercial real estate, specifically flex industrial properties, land for development opportunities, you can reach out to us here at www.mwcreadvisors.com. My number is 573-694-9669. Our emails are up there on the screen as well. You can find us on LinkedIn as well. Nathan, let's pivot, man. Unless you've got something else to talk about on this case study, we do have some questions coming in that I want to get over to you. Do you have anything else on the Broadmoor deal that you wanted to talk through that we missed?
Yeah. I would say one thing that we didn't really highlight was the fact that we used leverage from our first initial offer in order to get other offers on the table. And that's one thing that a lot of brokers don't necessarily do, but it's a unique component in order to kind of create competition amongst the buyers. It's like we received that first initial offer. As we were getting interest, and we got some further tours set up, we're letting them know from the front end, like, hey, we do have an offer on the table. We would love to entertain an offer from you, but we do have a strict timeline of, hey, we need to get offers on the table within a week because we have to have a turnaround for our client.
That's right.
And I think using that as leverage was able to get us more offers in the door.
Absolutely. All right. First question coming up for you, Nathan, is we've got a question coming in here saying, hey, what are the tailwinds on industrial real estate and why Kansas City right now? Can you give an approach to answering that question? I got lots of thoughts, but I'm going to let you go after that first.
Of course. Yeah. I would say specifically, I would consider this small bay industrial or flex industrial just based on the square footage and kind of the overall layout here. Kansas City is going to be a great market for that along with others, but more specifically with the square footage. I mean, there's just not many properties like this that are currently being built around the city. And we see a lot of large scale projects that are being developed, but nothing this small. So if you were to have something like this come on the market, those are getting leased up fairly fast. And that's kind of the unique thing that we have here in Kansas City. It's like, hey, I mean, there's not much inventory out there and there's a huge demand for this property type. So if you have anything coming available, we're going to be able to get that leased up fast.
Absolutely. Another question coming in here. Hey, Nathan, are you seeing a big demand from businesses looking for this type of space and what are they looking for in a property right now?
Of course. I mean, number one thing they're going to be looking at is the square footage. They're going to be looking at what is the overall layout. And then obviously they want to be within a geographic area. There are now we've been tracking all of the small scale flex industrial buildings that's kind of being built around Kansas City. There's not much that's coming available around Shawnee. I would say majority of has been coming available has mostly been kind of South Overland Park with some of the flex contractor garage type of concepts, but there's definitely room for more of those just because, especially as a startup business or someone that isn't really scaling up that fast. I mean, those work for a variety of different tenants. I mean, you can be a general contractor, you can be a property manager, you just need space for storage. You could be someone that's kind of working on your vehicle just kind of as a side project. There's so many different end tenants or buyers that can go for this property type here.
Yeah. More specifically, it looks like this guy is an investor looking to purchase and is curious on your thoughts on things that they should be looking for in a property that are that are being asked for tenants, whether that be power, ceiling heights, access, yard space? What's in the most demand right now?
Yeah, I would say what's in the most demand is going to be, as far as square footage, you're going to be probably in that 1 to about 3,000 square foot range. And if you were to have an option for industrial outdoor storage, because let's just say it is a general contractor and someone needs to have overnight storage of their vehicles, typically that's not going to be allowed at a retail shopping center or office building. So if you were to have some sort of industrial outdoor storage use, that could be for either equipment like lumber or something like that. That can only be pretty much stored outside for ease of use, or if you have utility trucks that kind of need to stay overnight at the building. That's going to be one component. Layout is kind of another thing. If you're going to have one of those smaller units, you definitely want to make sure two things. You have some sort of in-suite restroom, or it's customizable to where you can have offices in there. And then you also want to have some sort of AC and adequate power. Typically for a small unit like that, I mean, 100 amps is probably going to be more than adequate, because if a tenant's coming in, they need more space, they can just lease out multiple units.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. What cap rate are you seeing these things usually trade at right now, Nathan?
Yeah, I would say on the cap rate side, I mean, especially for a brand new development, I mean, you're probably going to be trading around the 7 cap range. It kind of depends on quite a few things, like what submarket specifically in Kansas City, but you're going to be around the 7 cap range for something new.
Well, we got a couple folks asking, do we have another deal like this coming online, or anything else that we can send over? What do you want to tease out for them, man?
Yeah, so we have this new listing coming available in Lawrence. It's 2001 East 19th Street. This is a 19,000 square foot industrial building. Very similar as far as it being 100% occupied. You do have some industrial outdoor storage use. There's one of the tenants that's kind of using that 8.5 acres for storing their trailers. But it's kind of like a similar situation as Broadmoor Kennels, except it's just kind of on a larger scale.
Yeah, most definitely. That one is going to be sandwiched right between the Lawrence Innovation Park for KU's campus, as well as the Lawrence Venture Park, where Van Trust has already developed a few properties out there for Amcor, for Hershey's, and U.S. Engineering is out there as well. Additionally, Lawrence has decided to move their MSO facilities on 168 acres adjacent to this property, and there's lots under contract behind it to be built out as well. So fantastic opportunity for catching the overflow of those larger companies that might need some more space, or even working with those industries. It is used right now as a dedicated, transportation property. So there's, 6.5, 7 yards or acres of yard space available. Nathan and I were just out there on Monday in the freezing cold. We've got some really cool videography, drone footage, and photos coming of that deal. Great opportunity for somebody to have some stable income for a few years, work out what they want to do in regards to a development, and add some more buildings to that. So definitely stay in touch with us, guys. We're going to be launching that deal. We'll be back on the podcast, and on YouTube and LinkedIn, going live on that deal once we have everything put together. But it should be a really awesome opportunity. And we're out there hunting. We closed another small bay industrial deal in December of 2025 as well. Very small project, owner-user type of sale. We're not really spotlighting it, but if you are an owner-user looking to lease or buy flex industrial in Kansas City, we're probably working right now with 3 to 5 companies out there sourcing opportunities. So we are in the know of what's available, what rental rates are, and if you want to purchase, what's available for purchase on a per square foot basis. So please do reach out to us. You can find us right here at www.mwcreadvisors.com. Logan at mwcreadvisors.com. Nathan at mwcreadvisors.com. Definitely reach out to us. Connect with Nathan, myself on LinkedIn. Would love to keep these spotlights right around 30 minutes, and I'm proud to say we're right there at that mark. Nathan, do you have any closing remarks or thoughts for our listeners and audience here today?
Not too much. It's just, I mean, kind of the restate what you said. I mean, if you are a business owner or an investor looking in Kansas City to buy, sell, or lease, I mean, we're the perfect team for that. We're boots on the ground, talking to all these different businesses. We're talking to all these different property owners. We a lot of the times we're aware of properties that's going to be hitting the market before it actually launches, and why not be first in the door to get a property leased before it actually hits the market and you have more competition. So I would say definitely reach out to us and let's work together.
For all your flex industrial needs, one other thing that I'll mention, we are working with a number of developers right now who are building product types. So to be delivered in Q3 and Q4 of 2026. So throwing a teaser out there, if you're looking to lease space in Bonner Springs, in Johnson County, in South Kansas City, and you need space, do reach out to us, right? We have space coming online in the next 9 to 12 months so that you can lease that space. If you're an owner of land and you want an idea of what you should build and a site plan and analysis on what it can be worth once it's stabilized, how long it's going to take to get leased up, reach out to us. We're working on pre-leasing multiple parks right now here in the Kansas City area. You can find us at www.mwcreadvisors.com. And yes, I'm a Missouri boy, so I'm going to say it that way because that's like my sign off. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for your questions. If we didn't get to them, just send us a DM, send us an email, shoot us a text. We want to talk with you about your commercial real estate needs here in the Kansas City location. And that is another episode of the Kansas City Commercial Real Estate Market Pulse. We're dropping lots of content over there at the Market Pulse. So make sure to follow us on YouTube, follow us on LinkedIn, follow us on all the podcast platforms. This video, if you want the slides and you're like, hey, man, I missed the slides and you're just listening in, go over to your little Spotify button and push video because the video is uploaded to Spotify. We are an interactive show. We answer questions online. We present information. It's very different than just interviewing. We do have great interviews as well. We've got more of those coming for you guys as well. We're excited for a big 2026. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Market Pulse. Nathan, thanks for being here, brother.
All right. See you.